Hello, I'm Matthew Shilvok, and I am delighted to welcome you to the 102nd season of San Francisco Opera. My 9th as your general director, and my 19th here at the company. This is a time of unparalleled creativity and audience energy. On stage, we are seeing an extraordinary commitment to new stories, being told at the highest levels of excellence. Musically, under the baton of Eun Kim. Visually, through a broad array of production styles. And dramatically, with an integrity of storytelling that resonates with our lives today. The impact of this creative energy is also being felt in our audiences. We are now back to pre-pandemic capacities, and we're seeing amazing numbers of new audience members coming into the house for the first time. Last fall, we welcomed 18,000 new audience members, many through our subsidized Dolby tickets and OSHA subscriptions. And we're seeing audiences getting younger and more diverse as we broaden the repertory on stage and welcome people into the house through innovative programs like our Encounter series, as well as pre- and post-show opportunities to connect and share. This is an extremely fertile time for San Francisco Opera, and it's imperative that we keep all of this amazing energy moving forward. But the arts in America are at an inflection point. I always want to be transparent with you about the state of this company, your company. And before I share with you details of our next season, I want to share a brief overview of where we are in this moment. While we are thriving artistically and with such great audience energy, this is also a time in which we, and so many arts companies, are facing the harsh realities of a financial model close to breaking point. For decades now, revenues have not kept pace with the modest growth in operating costs. Here at San Francisco Opera, while our expense growth has been held to around 2 to 3% a year, our revenue growth has been more like 1% a year at best, leading to a widening gap of feasibility over time. As with any business, we must size ourselves appropriately to our revenues, and you will see that reflected in our main stage season of 6 operas, complemented with exciting additional programming. We're also looking at more fundamental changes to how we exist in the future, so that we can sustainably keep great opera on the stage and in the community. As we craft a sustainable future, it's good to remind ourselves that arts companies are constantly reinventing themselves. We've not always performed in the same way. In the 1930s, an opera season in San Francisco included some 14 titles, but all within the space of 1 month. Basically, one performance of each title with almost no rehearsals. The summer season was a much later addition. And for 30 years, we toured our season down to Los Angeles. We have been constantly evolving since our founding in 1923. Art is always evolving, but across a century of evolution, what has remained constant is the great tradition of San Francisco Opera, a tradition so clearly seen in the loyalty and longevity of the opera family. In December, we celebrated the retirement of our assistant head carpenter, Mark Baumann, who was with the company for 46 years. Several of our long-serving choristers took retirement bows, including Val Portnoff, a member of the chorus for 42 years. And violist Jonna Hervig from the orchestra retired after 49 years with the company. That kind of longevity is also felt on our board and in our audience. Our longest-serving board member, Barbara Ward Wonder, has been on the opera board for 55 years, and we have over 1,100 households who have been subscribing for 30 years or more. I feel this longevity so deeply as we continue into our second century. What we do today is built on the legacy of all who have gone before, and it is that legacy that will propel us into an exciting future. As the management and the board work to define new models for the future, I wanted to share 4 of my North Stars with you as we go through this period of transition. First, we must produce total artistic experiences that transport audiences emotionally and allow us to connect as a community. Second, we must keep building the repertory with new works and new productions that connect with who we are today, whether on topics that are pertinent to this moment in time or that connect us to a deeper arc of humanity. Third, we must sustain the creative excellence that is a hallmark of this company. The caliber of the arts in San Francisco makes this one of the great iconic cities of the world. And fourth, we must keep pushing boundaries, evolving, innovating. The arts must be dynamic, honoring the past, but always looking to new possibilities. As we evolve, if we hold true to these principles, I know we will find exciting paths forward and keep San Francisco Opera one of the great stages in the world, a place where artists are eager to come and do their best work, and where audiences are inspired to return. This is only possible with each of you, our donors and subscribers, and I am profoundly grateful for your devotion to this company and to your belief in our creatively vibrant future. Thank you. I'm so excited for the season ahead and for the other projects that we're developing for the future. I'll share a special sneak peek of a new work for an upcoming season, but first, let's delve into the 102nd season. As I mentioned earlier, it's a season of 6 main stage titles and exciting concert programs. Music director Eun-Sun Kim will continue her journey through the works of Verdi and Wagner, with 2 new to San Francisco productions. We open the season with Verdi's Un Ballo in Maschera, a story about a nation torn apart when political duty and personal fidelity are upended by an affair of the heart. It's loosely based on the story of King Gustav III of Sweden and his assassination at a masked ball in 1792 at the Royal Opera House in Stockholm. An assassination plot gathers urgency when the king's closest advisor finds out that the king has amorous feelings for his wife. All of this is predicted in true operatic fashion by a fortune teller early on in the proceedings. Eun-Sun has already given us deeply moving accounts of Verdi's La Traviata and Il Trovatore, and it's been so inspiring to feel the massive scope of humanity in her interpretations. Verdi, maybe more than any other composer, gives us complex, multifaceted reflections of relationships. And under Eun-Sun's baton, the beautiful nuances of Verdi's writing is so acutely felt. She will lead a cast of beloved San Francisco Opera artists, including Michael Fabiano as King Gustav and Liana Haratunian as Amelia. Michael was with us last year as Pinkerton in Madame Butterfly and is one of the most ardent tenors on the world stage today. And Liana has enthralled audiences here since 2014 as Tosca, Butterfly, Nedda in Pagliacci, and as Manon Lescaut in 2019. Liana's return was postponed by the pandemic, and so we're happy to bring her back for this soaring Verdi role. We also welcome back 2 singers who have made stunning impacts on our stage in recent years. Judith Kurtagi as the fortune teller Ulrika, who we recently saw on stage as the viscerally intense Ortrud in Lohengrin, and Megway Zhang as the sprightly page Oscar. Megway was with us as Eurydice in Orpheus and Eurydice, as Dai Yu in the revival of Dream of the Red Chamber, and is featured in one of our award-winning in-song episodes. She's an artist who brings such lyrical beauty to everything she does. The cast is completed by an exciting house debut, the Mongolian baritone Amatuvshin Enkbat, one of the most thrilling new Verdi baritones of recent years. He's making a huge impact all over the globe, having recently sung Rigoletto at the Royal Opera and Germont at the Met. We're so happy to welcome him to San Francisco. The production is a recent production from Rome and Malmo by Italian director Leo Muscato, in an interpretation that remains faithful to the original late 18th century Swedish setting. It will have been just under a decade since we last had Ballo on our stage, and I can't wait to get back to the intensity and intrigue of one of Verdi's greatest operas. And this year, with the most fitting of titles in a masked ball, we return to a full-length opera for the season-opening Opera Ball. I'm so happy that we're partnering with the San Francisco Opera Guild once again on this most festive event. Please mark your calendars for Friday, September 6th. Un Ballo in Maschera premiered in 1859, and in a beautiful synergy, Eun-Sun Kim's Wagner opera next season was written in that same year, the romantic epic Tristan and Isolde. That Ballo and Tristan date from the same time is a powerful reminder of the 2 very different pathways that these giants of the repertoire were following. Tristan and Isolde is one of the most pivotal works in all of opera. It leaves a searing imprint on the listener as Wagner finds his way into the deep recesses of our souls, creating a harmonic, dramatic, and philosophical complexity that pointed Romanticism on a new course and began to push harmony to its limits. The philosopher Nietzsche, who who had a checkered relationship with Wagner's music, wrote of the opera's famous prelude, quote, "I simply cannot bring myself to remain critically aloof from this music. Every nerve in me is a twitch, and it's been a long time since I had such a lasting sense of ecstasy as with this overture." I can't wait to hear this music under Unson's baton. We got our first experience of her Wagner with Lohengrin last year, and since then she has also led a sublime Parsifal at Houston Grand Opera. Unson has an extraordinary ability to find just the right pacing to unlock the full essence of a work. And for Tristan, that promises to be transcendent. It's a work that brings the singers and the orchestra together in a symbiotic sense of wholeness. And as the harmonies tug at our very core, we too become a part of the musical fabric, the whole opera house entering a shared sense of ecstasy. We're acquiring the production from La Fenice in Venice, and it marks the San Francisco Opera debut of British director Paul and the return of beloved San Francisco Opera designer Robert Innes Hopkins, who designed our recent Tosca, Traviata, and Elixir of Love. They've created a timeless world that allows the work to breathe and allows us to find ourselves within it. As Tristan, we welcome back Simon O'Neill, whose clarion tone resounded so beautifully in Lohengrin last year. And as Isolde, a glorious soprano last with us as Sieglinde in 2010, Anja Kamper. We're happy to have the debuts of German bass baritone Wolfgang Koch as Kurvenal and German mezzo-soprano Anneke Schlicht as Brangena. Kwang Chul-yun will return as King Marker after his upcoming debut with us this summer as Sarastro in Magic Flute. Tristan and Isolde is a work that probes the extremes of emotional possibility, a love so intense that it simply cannot be contained by this world. It's a work that allows us to glimpse the infinite. In between Unson's Verdi and Wagner offerings, we have a very different work, one of the most important operas of the last 30 years, and one that I am so excited to be bringing after it was postponed in 2020 due to the pandemic. The Handmaid's Tale by composer Paul Ruders and librettist Paul Bentley. It's a powerful, searing, intense opera that adapts Margaret Atwood's dystopian novel about an America in which a repressive theocratic regime has seized power and forces women into surrogacy, bearing children for the ruling class. These handmaids are known simply by the name of the male head of the household, hence our lead character, Offred, or of Fred. It's a chilling work that feels at once futuristic and of the moment. Margaret Atwood has talked about every element in this book having a real-world antecedent. We want this critical work to be a catalyst for community dialogue, and we'll be sharing more details about related programming as we go through this year. San Francisco Opera has joined with the Royal Danish Opera to create a new production by John Full James, with a powerful set design by Chloe Lamford, whose work we'll see on this stage this summer with another incisive work, Innocence. In The Handmaid's Tale, a whitewashed gymnasium forms the basis of the set, the Red Center, where the terrifying aunts indoctrinate new handmaids before they are sent into servitude. The gymnasium transforms through the opera as Offred tries to crack open the impenetrable system, determined to find her way back to her husband and child. The music blends incisive, driven textures with eerily still moments, particularly the haunting choruses of handmaids singing Amazing Grace. It's a contemporary masterpiece, and we're thrilled to present its West Coast premiere. Irene Roberts will take on the role of Offred. She made her debut in The Tales of Hoffmann back in 2013 and has returned as Carmen Bao Chai in Dream of the Red Chamber, and most recently as an absolutely captivating Dorabella in Così fan tutte. She's an extraordinary stage presence and heads a cast of returning and debuting artists, including Sarah Cambridge as Aunt Lydia and John Relier as the commander. On the podium will be Karen Kamensek, who was last with us for Susanna in 2014 and who is a great exponent of contemporary opera. We're so happy to welcome her back. The Handmaid's Tale is a tour de force work that epitomizes how contemporary opera can resonate with topical issues, bringing those issues into full relief with an emotional intensity only possible on the live stage. We're drawn in, we feel connected to the characters, and we leave breathless, moved, changed. I'm looking forward to that same level of connection as we return to one of Mozart's serious operas after spending recent years with his comedies. In the summer of 2025, we head into the land of myth with his early masterpiece, Idomeneo. While The Handmaid's Tale connects us to the broader arc of humanity by invoking the future, Idomeneo does the same by invoking the past. Idomeneo pulls us into questions of life's priorities. How would we decide between the fate of the collective versus the fate of the individual, particularly when the individual is one's own child? Mozart's opera brings us into a world of ritual, of sacrifice, of impossible decisions that must be taken if society is to be saved. And those decisions are given timely resonance in this new production that originated in Australia last year by director Lindy Hume. She and her design team have created a world of familial intimacy, but one that expands through epic projections into the raw expanse of nature, filmed around the wild coastline of Tasmania. Ultimately, it is nature asking the impossible questions of us, and in the might and the furor of nature, we are wise to listen. Mozart's score is extraordinary. Arias of incisive fury for the spurned Princess Elettra, played by Elsa van den Heever. Music of nobility and resolve for King Idomeneo, played by Matthew Polenzani. Music of exquisite purity for the young Ilya, played by debuting soprano Ing Fang. And music of youthful bravura for Idomeneo's son, Idamante, played by Daniela Mack, returning after her tour de force Frida Kahlo last year. The chorus is in many ways a character themselves. Idomeneo contains some of Mozart's most exciting choral writing, showcasing the San Francisco Opera Chorus under the leadership of chorus director John Keane. I can't wait to experience Idomeneo under the baton of Unsun Kim in this, her third opera of the season. Opera seria, or serious opera, seen most abundantly in the Baroque period, but still evident with Mozart and Haydn, uses broad emotional archetypes to allow us to understand our own emotions. We are all composites in varying configurations of these archetypes, and in a work like Idomeneo, the characters take us deep into ourselves. This promises to be a stunning moment of the season. So, 4 productions brand new to the San Francisco stage. A new co-production of The Handmaid's Tale, and new-to-stage productions of Ballo and Maschera, Tristan and Isolde, and Idomeneo. Our remaining 2 operas are 2 of the great classics of the repertoire in beloved San Francisco opera productions, with casts that will bring Carmen and La Bohème to life in beautiful ways. Carmen returns in Francesca Zambello's production, conducted by an exciting conductor making his house debut, Benjamin Manis. Benjamin was resident conductor of the Houston Grand Opera for 3 seasons, where he caught Unsun Kim's eye, and she was eager to bring him to San Francisco. Francesca's production pulls us into the verisimilitude of Bizet's classic, one of the earliest examples of the Verismo opera in which the harsh realities of life become the focus of the drama. Although Bizet never set foot in Spain, he creates a stylized sense of the place, serving as an evocative backdrop for this tale of lust twisted by obsession. It's a lust that morphs into a fatal jealousy as Don José tries to turn the free-spirited Carmen into something she is not and she will never be, his possession. It remains one of the most compelling scores in all of opera, for a reason. Like Tristan, it takes us to the edge of emotion, albeit very different emotions in this work. I am so excited about our cast. Our Carmen will be making not only her house debut, but also her American debut. The Swiss-French mezzo, Eve Maud Houbeau, has been captivating audiences in Vienna, Paris, Berlin, and Barcelona for the last few years. And she shot to international attention when she stepped in as Amneris at the Salzburg Festival in 2022 on just a few weeks' notice. One of the reviewers of that Aida production proclaimed of Eve Maud that, quote, "Next to her, everyone else fades." As Don José, we welcome back American-Chilean tenor Jonathan Teitelman, who captivated audiences in our new production of La Traviata back in 2022. The New York Times hailed him as a total star, and he continues his trajectory around the world. And Michaela is someone we've been eager to get here over the last few years, after her debut was lost to the pandemic. British soprano Louise Alder brings incredible lyricism and incisive characterization, and it will be a joy to finally have her with the company. And then that great friend of San Francisco Opera, bass Christian Van Horn, will return as the swaggering toreador Escamillo, making his unmissable entrance on horseback. This promises to be a Carmen sizzling with intense heat and with raw emotion. No matter how many times you've seen it, With a cast as incisive as this one, it's a piece that will feel as though heard for the very first time when it caused a grand scandal at its Parisian premiere. Our summer season pairs Idomeneo with another of the great classics of the repertoire, Puccini's La Bohème. Our production by director John Caird returns after an 8-year gap. Like Carmen, La Bohème's popularity is born out of its complete and utter mastery of the genre. Its 4 brief acts encapsulate the emotions of our 6 Bohemian protagonists as they navigate young love, jealousy, and ultimately loss with the death of Mimi. Whether you're seeing it for the first time or for the 100th time, when we realize that Mimi is no longer sleeping but has died, the tears flow as we imagine all of our own lost loves. Each of the Bohemians represents a different creative discipline, and our production uses the painted canvases of Marcello as the basis as the set morphs through the seasons of love. The scenery propels us with incredible alacrity through the opera, ensuring that the emotional intensity never lets up. We're so happy to welcome back Ramon Tebar to the podium. He made his debut with us last fall in The Elixir of Love, where he delighted audiences and the company alike with a depth of musical insight and joyful collegiality. Fresh from The Elixir of Love, we're also thrilled to have back a singer who has captivated San Francisco audiences in the most wonderfully authentic of ways. Samoan tenor Pene Patti began his professional career here at San Francisco Opera as an Adler Fellow and as the Duke in Verdi's Rigoletto. His recent roles as Romeo, Nemorino, and now Rodolfo are marking some of the most joyful artistic highlights on our stage. As we saw with Pene's Nemorino, when you have a singer with such effortless talent, you experience the full potential of these classic roles. I can't wait for his Rodolfo. Pene will be joined by fabulous artists across our 2 casts. Our other Rodolfo will be Evan Leroy Johnson, who made such an impression as Lenski in 2022. Karen Charling Ho, with us in Dream of the Red Chamber, and Nicole Carr, last with us in Don Giovanni, will be Mimi. Brittany Renee, who gave us such a heartfelt interpretation of Julie in Omar, is one of our musettas, along with the debut of Andrea Carroll. And our Marcellos will be former Adler Fellow Lucas Meacham and the house debut of Will Liverman. This should be a stunning La Bohème and a reminder of why this work has pulled on the heartstring of audiences without fail for the last 130 years. We complete the season with a number of exciting concerts and innovative programs as we work to connect art and audiences together in ways that resonate, delight, and create unique experiences. This fall, in addition to the traditional Opera in the Park concert on Sunday, September 8th, Unsung Kim and the San Francisco Opera Orchestra and Chorus will take to the stage on Saturday, October 26th for the first full performance of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in the company's history. We have a fabulous quartet of soloists, Jennifer Holloway, Annika Schlicht, Russell Thomas, and Kwang Chul Yoon. This ode, not only to joy, but to the ideals of humanity, will be an incredible affirmation of the power of music to bring us together. It has been used as an anthem of unification throughout the last 2 centuries, and this performance will celebrate the 200th anniversary of the work and its 1824 premiere in Vienna. And then, in June 2025, we will be joining in the celebration of San Francisco Pride with a very special one-night-only concert at the start of the city's Pride Festival. We'll share more information closer to the time, but we're creating a wonderful experience of sound and visuals in celebration of LGBTQIA+ artists, artistry, and audiences. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's so important that we keep pushing new bounds, and we will continue our innovative programs in the 2024-25 season. On Thursday, November 21st, we have the Carmen Encounter, part opera, part party, as we transform the Opera House into an immersion with the first act of Carmen on stage, and then the energy of sultry Spain out in the lobbies. It's an only in San Francisco experience. We anticipate the return of our out-of-the-box opera series in the spring of 2025, as we take opera around the Bay Area in our unique converted shipping container. And we'll be continuing to live stream all of our main stage operas, which this past fall reached 18,000 people, making San Francisco Opera accessible to the world. Talking of innovation and pushing the bounds forward, I want to share with you a sneak peek of something coming up in the season after next. We are busy preparing for our next world premiere. World premieres are the most creative expression possible for any opera company, forging a completely new work musically, visually, dramatically, and adding to the world's opera repertoire. Following the huge success of Dream in the Red Chamber in 2016, we will be taking on another of the 4 great Chinese novels, with an adaptation of the 16th century Chinese epic, The Monkey King, or Journey to the West. Once again, we're partnering with our friends at the Chinese Heritage Foundation in Minneapolis and are commissioning Chinese-born composer Huang Ro and the American playwright David Henry Wong to write a new action-packed opera that will be sung in both English and Chinese. The Monkey King is a sweeping epic that has become a beloved classic across the entire Asian continent. Our opera will focus on the first chapter, in which the monkey wreaks havoc on heaven. After being persecuted and maligned, the monkeys elect a monkey king, after he finds them protection. But not content with the title of king, the monkey seeks immortality and leaves to learn from a Taoist master. Attaining supernaturally impressive powers, he begins to strive for even greater and greater powers. He takes on first the god of the seas and then the gods of heaven, causing such mayhem that the Buddha himself is ultimately called in to resolve the situation. The Buddha tricks the monkey into being imprisoned under his palm for 500 years to learn patience and humility, after which he ultimately begins his adventures to the West. But that journey west will have to be for a sequel. At the time of recording this, about 2/3 of the opera is already written, and after hearing a playthrough recently, I am so excited for how it's coming together. Because this first chapter of The Monkey King is so action-packed, Huang Ro and David Henry Wong have come up with an ingenious way to find moments of reflection in the opera. They intersperse the dramatic action with meditative Buddhist sutras, sung in Chinese by the chorus and by the main female character, Guang Yin. The music is sublime. We're bringing together some very exciting talents to join Huang Ro and David Henry Wong. The director will be Diane Paulus, the artistic director of American Repertory Theatre in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and whose work for Broadway includes the Gershwins' Porgy and Bess, Hair, Pippin, and Jagged Little Pill. We'll also be working with the great puppeteer Basil Twist, born in San Francisco. He creates magical worlds out of puppetry and movement, most recently in the highly acclaimed play in London, My Neighbor Totoro. We'll have more to share on the other members of the creative team, cast and conductors soon. But this is going to be a major new work in the fall of the 2025-26 season that has the potential to be a very special addition to the repertory. The birthing process of a new opera is a multi-year journey, and I wanted you to be a part of it well before we announce the next season. So lots more on The Monkey King to come. The Monkey King will hopefully be a work that appeals to existing and new audiences alike. Much has been the case with last year's new operas. We are always looking for stories that will energize people to come and try the opera house and break down the barriers of people's pre-existing conceptions of opera. One of the most successful ways we've broken barriers in the last 2 years has been our introductory ticket programs, and we'll be continuing those in the 2024-25 season. The Dolby Family tickets, generously underwritten by the Dolby family, are available to anyone in the Bay Area who has not been to the opera in the last 3 years, making great opera possible for just $10 a ticket. And the OSHA subscriptions, generously underwritten by Bernard and Barbara OSHA, make possible very attractively priced subscription packages to anyone in the Bay Area who has not subscribed to the opera in the last 3 years. But these programs are limited in supply, and even if you're not eligible to take advantage of them yourselves, I hope that you'll share them with friends, neighbors, and co-workers. They are great ways to share your love of opera with new people, and there is no better person to introduce new people to the opera than you. Your passion for this company is so compelling. Year after year, decade after decade, you immerse yourselves in these profound, beautiful, powerful stories of humanity. So many of you tell me that your first opera was because someone you trusted introduced you. It's amazing how powerful that gesture can be. And so please inspire other people to try this art form that you love so deeply. As I shared earlier, the arts are at an inflection point. We must start looking at things differently, scaling appropriately to our revenues, and finding lasting solutions for this new post-COVID chapter of the arts. But it also means that we must keep the vital energy of San Francisco Opera strong, the energy that has propelled us forward with amazing success for over 100 years, and that has been reverberating with such intensity these last 2 seasons in particular. As subscribers and donors, you are making possible these life-affirming experiences. You're allowing us to welcome in new audiences, and you are sustaining this creative community of talented artists, artisans, and technicians who realize artistry at the very highest level of impact. This is your San Francisco Opera, built and sustained by you and connecting us all together in shared emotional experiences. I'm so excited to raise the curtain with you on the 102nd season of the company. Thank you for being a part of something so extraordinary.